Hi, I'm Paul Vunak. Welcome to the continuing JKD Street Fighting series. This tape is on Mass Attack. Hi, I'm Paul Vunak and welcome to Mass Attack. The first thing I want to preface about this tape is that we're talking about 2 or 3 people on one. We're not talking about a bunch of accountants. We're talking about 2 or 3 big, strong, mean guys pissed off at you. And they're all going to gangbang you at the same time. Nobody stands around in a circle like Billy Jack. So you need to understand that. And with that in mind, there are a few principles we have to cover. And the first principle is going to be footwork. So just like in our other tapes, we have a progression. So in our training, we're going to have 2-on-1, and the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to use footwork so we learn how to zone. And when you're zoning, you're always just fighting one man at a time. So you never really fight 2 or 3 people. So with this in mind, let's back off and just check out our first take. Now in our first round, we're going to use a progression just like in all of our other tapes. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to understand zoning. We have positioned ourselves so we have plenty of room. This is not always the case in a fight. In fact, usually it's not. But if you do have the luxury of room, the most important point in the very beginning of learning how to fight more than one person is footwork. So we're going to start off at about 20%. I'm going to have 2 of my boys coming in, and I'm just going to be zoning. I'm going to go one direction or the other. You'll notice I never cut down the middle. You'll see an irresistible urge to cut right down the middle of 2 people. That's when they're going to swarm on you. So you're hitting one person, but you're kind of gazing at the other guy. Now, before we put in any of the weapons, you just need to do the footwork. I'd like you at home to do the footwork for perhaps a week or 2. Just the footwork where 2 guys are just trying to grab you. And then you see the zoning. Once you have the footwork down, then you put in the punches. Okay, with that in mind, when I cue you guys, just come on right in. We're only going about 20%. Speed. That's how we start off. Okay, ready? And go. Good. Do you notice what I did? I'm just positioning my body away from one person. That is the key. Let's play with that. Now in this next round, we're going to go 2-on-1 again. We're only going to use the footwork. I want to reiterate one point here. You have no business doing any 2-on-1 or 3-on-1 training unless you've got your boxing skills down. You're going to watch us do the footwork, but this footwork has to be ingrained in the head to where it is second nature to you. You can't be punching, elbowing, kneeing, and worrying about what your feet are doing. It can't work that way. So the footwork has to be a reflexive thing. And the only way it's going to be a reflexive thing is for you to have logged the hours, the flight time of 2 people coming in at you and you're always zoning to do a reflexive thing again. Then your hands can do their thing on their own. This is the only way we can make this happen. Hang with me. At this point, we're going to assume that you've already put in about 5 or 10 hours of just 2 people chasing you, and you're doing nothing but zoning with your footwork. Now we gradually escalate the amount of pressure that is put on your brain. Remember this, the more pressure, the more punches we have, the more people we have, the higher your chances are of going into a brain freeze. And when you do that and you stop your movement, you're going to get swarmed on. The minute you stop your footwork, the second you stop your footwork, they're going to swarm on you. So you've got to gradually escalate the pressure. So you tell your people this. Now what you're going to see us do is the same 2 guys will be coming at me. This time, they're only allowed to give the jab. Now what you're going to see is we're going to allow the person in the middle to add his jab. This is usually the easiest blow that you can do in correlation with footwork. It's harder to shoot across on somebody because you're exchanging all your weight on your front foot. Then you have a propensity to get set. And again, the minute you get set, you're going to get swarmed on. So the first weapon we're allowing you to use is a jab. Could be an eye jab. Play with it. Now our next round, we're going to do the same thing. The guy in the middle can jab. The two guys on the end only have their jab, with one exception. The man in the middle can now grab. He can push. He can add a little Tai Chi. So this really helps your odds. You're going to find this out. This is really where Tai Chi helps, when you can throw one guy into the other guy, because you're setting up a line anyway. When you're always zoning, there's one man here, there's one man behind him, and you're here. So when you shove the guy in the middle, he's going to go into the guy in the end. You're going the other direction. Hang with me. Now this is going to be the most fun we're going to have. The guy in the middle gets to use both hands, and we're going to stipulate that the two guys on the end still just use the jab. I want you to do this round because this is going to graduate you into the punching process. But again, when you start putting in the hands, you're going to find you have a propensity to stop the footwork. As long as you have just the jab going, you can always move. But when you put in this rear hand, you're going to have a tendency to get planted. So before we have both guys on the ends gangbang you, we're just going to have them jab. And we're going to just emphasize the part where when you're punching with the rear hand, you continue moving. This is what I want you to think about. To be able to hit and move on the run. Think of yourself like an Ali, not like a Frazier. Now we're going to put it all together. Guy in the middle, both hands. Two guys on the ends, both hands. We're going to allow the man in the middle to use his kicks if he wants. You're not going to really want to, though. You're going to find out the minute you pick up your leg and start kicking, that's the leg you needed for footwork. That's going to slow your footwork down and you're going to get swarmed. Works great in the movies. You got a guy in the middle, he's circled by 10 people, and they come at him one at a time. Well, you got 2 or 3 people chasing you and swinging at you, big, mean, and pissed off. The minute you pick up your leg to kick, you're going to get swarmed on. We'll find this out. Now at this phase of the game, I'm going to assume you guys have put in a minimum of 5 hours of 2-on-1. Now we're going to go to the next phase of the game, 3-on-1. 3-on-1 is not 30% worse than 2-on-1. Kind of goes up exponentially. You're going to see how difficult it is if these three guys are bent on your destruction. Big, strong, mean, pissed off, and pain tolerance. You're going to try it. Again, I have very, very little confidence in anybody in the center against three people on one, but it's good to experience it. You got to be mean, you've got to cheat, you've got to find an equalizer, you've got to bite, you've got to do whatever it takes, and then get the hell out of the way. All right, let's give it a try. Well, I hope you enjoyed the feeling of 3-on-1. Just to feel the feeling of 6 punches at you at one time. It's almost impossible not to get hit. Now we're going to make our next jump in difficulty. We're going to put you in an environment where we do not have the luxury of this footwork. We're going to put you in the bar environment where there's 2 people coming at you and you have no footwork. Let's take it from there. Now we graduate to possibly our worst case scenario. We have a mass attack, but we have no room to move. We have close quarters. We have 4 fists flying at us at one time, and again, we need to establish the parameters. Where is our escape route? Where is our footwork? And how do we get out of the way first? Before we worry about any punches, any kicks, any elbows, any knees, we first have to establish our escape route and to be street smart. Once we've done this, then we take the punches and the kicks and the elbows and we just escalate it. So again, as with our training, we have to go in a progression. So we're going to start out with 2 guys right here, and we're just going to build on that. So hang with me. Now, when we're in this situation where we have 2 adversaries on this end, again, we have to neutralize the opponent first. I'm going to try to get into my range and grab that neck, and I'm going to use the person whose neck I have as a shield to prevent me from getting hit from the other person. So before we throw in the weapons, again, with the progression, we want to neutralize the opponent first. So what you're going to watch me do is simply absorb a couple punches, come in, hang on, and just zone away from the second man. Now. Now again, the key word is progression. You didn't see one punch being thrown. All I did was get up, I absorbed a couple punches, and I neutralized the opponent. And from that position, I was not even concerned about the person that I had. I was looking at the other person, and I was zoning away from him. Once you have the neck of one person, you're going to be elbowing, you're going to be kneeing in the groin, the thumbs will be in the eyes, all that will be going on, but while that's going on, you're keeping aware of the other people from the periphery. This is the important thing. I've seen so many situations where there are professional kickboxers, Thai boxers, masters, black belts, regardless, but they just simply don't have the street smart. Get them in the ring or get them in a tournament, they can fight. Put them in a bar and forget it. Most people that are going to come up to you in a bar are going to have a shotgun mouth and a BB gun ass. And you got to understand that. They're going to get right up in your face and they're going to start talking. So if you're the person that hits first and keeps on hitting, zones away from the second guy, you're going to do well. That's your best bet. Now in this scenario, we have an adversary on each side of us. Okay? It's going to be the same mentality again. We're zoning, we're neutralizing, and we're looking for the exit. But in this particular scenario, we're going to have Ron punching first. He's going to initiate the punch from the chair, and then we're just going to let things flow. Brad is Ron's buddy in our particular scenario here, so Brad is going to be coming in at the same time. So the last thing I would want, come up slow, Ron, and give me a punch, boom, would be to stay right here in the middle of the mix. So again, being street smart, you're going to watch what's going to happen. When I take the first punch, I'm going to zone on this side to keep Brad away from me. If you don't have the street smart, if you don't know what's going on in the bar, you don't know who's friends with who, it's your own damn fault. So at this point, again, this is the tape of this, more so than this. All right, on a 3 count, I want you to go, Ron. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Now again, we have to cover the most important points. Ron threw the punch at me, I covered the first punch. Whether I took it or covered, regardless, that's not important. I grabbed Ron's head and I zoned him. I was neutralizing Ron and I was looking at Brad. This is the most important thing in a street fight. It's not a question of punching or kicking or elbowing or kneeing or headbutting. It's a question of positioning yourself properly first, and then the weapons will come naturally. Now in this scenario, we're going to have Dave walking up in my face and pointing like most people do. I'm going to initiate my strike with Dave, whatever I'm going to do, a headbutt, a knee, an elbow. I'm going to hang on and neutralize, but out of the corner of my eye, I see Rob coming from the dance floor. That's his Dave's buddy. So Rob is going to run around from this side. So naturally, after I'm done doing my thing with Dave, I'm going to shove him this way and I'm going that way. Again, we're trying to be evasive. We're not trying to be aggressive. We're not sitting here trying to fight everybody in the bar. We're going to get a couple good headbutts in, a couple good elbows, and get the hell out of there. So we're going to start the action right from here. Okay, ready, Dave? Good. Now, again, what would have happened in reality? Hopefully a couple knees and headbutts would have taken Dave out. I threw Dave into Rob, and I was that direction. I've neutralized the attack, and I've gone out the back door. Now we're going to be introducing the elbows, the knees, the headbutts, all the weapons. Before we actually do this, I want to remind you of a few important points. Most fights start by talking. Most fights start when a guy gets up in your face, nose to nose. I will give you one principle. If you listen to me, you will win 99% of your fights. Hit first, and don't stop hitting. There's no such thing as a push. You never cuss, you never yell, you never get into an argument. If you know a fight is going to happen, you hit first. And when you do hit, you don't stop hitting. And you keep in mind your opponent. So what you're going to watch me do is I'm going to be approached by 2 people. I know the fight is inevitable. I'm going to take one guy out of commission. Whatever happens to the other guy, at least it'll be one-on-one after that. Hang with me. Now again, remember our scenario. I'm going to have 2 people approaching me. I know the fight is inevitable, so I'm going to hit first. You're not trying to be Billy Jack. You're just trying to get out safely. So again, you hit first, don't stop hitting, and then you got a one-on-one situation because you've taken one guy out. The whole key to a mass attack is to fight one person. You don't fight 2 people at one time. So on my mark, 2 people are going to approach me, and you're going to see exactly how it would happen. Okay, ready, fellas? Okay, and go. Now we have a similar scenario where two people are approaching me. If you look in the last take we just did, I shot the elbow at the face first. I initiated with a good weapon, a headbutt, a knee, an elbow. Once you get that first shot buried on one guy, forget about him, go to the next guy. Again, you're only fighting one person at a time. In this particular case, I have an ashtray at my disposal. That's going to be my weapon for Bob. After the ashtray, I'm going to go straight to Trevor. I'm done with Bob. Okay, fellas, on my mark. And go. Now we have possibly our worst scenario. We have a 3-on-1 situation. We have no room to move. I have two people here. I have one guy here. I'm going to try to take this guy out and get away from these two. I'm going to zone away from these two people. So the first thing you have to know when you're fighting three people is you got to hit first. You got to get a weapon. There's no way you will ever be able to fight three people in a close quarter situation. I'm talking about three fighters, not three librarians arguing about the Dewey Decimal System. Okay? Three fighters. Three people pissed off at you, 6 hands flying at you at the same time. Forget it. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit first, I'm going to move, and I'm going to zone. And I'm going to run after I take one guy out of commission. Okay, fellas, on my mark. And go. Well, I hope you enjoyed Mass Attack. Also, anybody out there thinking previous to this tape that they could fight 3, 4, 5 people at once, well, I hope you met up with a rigid rod of reality, because it's just not going to happen. We'll be looking forward to seeing you in our next set. Thank you.